Hello and welcome. If you're here to do a little painting tonight, you're in the right spot. I'm starting a little bit early, I guess, here, so we have some things to cover before we get started painting. So if you're here with me, go ahead and let me know that you're here in chat. Also, tonight you're going to want to download a little sketch. So this is what this is going to look like. If you want to trace this, you can do that. If you want to draw along, you can do that as well. We're going to talk about perspective tonight, and I'm going to do a little quick demonstration on how I approach cards when I'm drawing them. I'll actually be doing that on the iPad real quickly, and so we'll do that first. So download this, look in the chat that way, and you should find those links there. You'll also find the reference image for this little painting that we're going to do tonight. So go ahead and do that now, and I'll kind of chat you up and you can trace that while we talk a little bit. Tonight, let's see, let's get to our colors really quick so you know what we're going to need. So tonight you have the option of using a pen as well. And hey Colin, it's nice to see you in here. So I think you actually pronounce these Molotov, so I'm going to do that. Oh, you can read it. Yes. So I have some permanent pens here that are black pens that I'm probably going to use as a finishing touch to my illustration here tonight. So if you want to use pens, you can do that. You want to make sure that they're waterproof, or if they're not waterproof, you wait until the end and then sketch at the end with them. What else do I want to touch base with you? As far as colors go, tonight we're going to be mixing greens and oranges, so you can either mix those by hand or you can use some convenience colors. So what's a convenience color? Well, a convenience color is a color that you can use straight out of the tube. It doesn't require mixing, so a lot of times I use transparent Pyrrole orange, and I really love that color. It's a great color that comes from Core. So that might be a convenience color that I will be using, but you can also just mix your own orange. You don't have to have these colors in this class because maybe you don't have them, but you can mix them. One other thing that I want to talk to you about, my Patreon subscribers are going to get one of these. This is actually a color wheel to help you remember how to mix colors and what mixes what and what might be complementary colors that are across from one another on the color wheel. This is actually a sticker, and this is a really handy little tool if you need to have a color wheel around. So Patreon subscribers, you're getting one of these. So Colin, I'll probably leave one at your door here this week, and Laurel, I'll be mailing yours. If you want to get one of these, you can visit ihavegumption.com and look in the store, and it is listed in the store there. Okay, what else do I need to cover? Also, I wanted to really quickly address a couple things as we're moving forward into November, because we're going to be having some holidays that fall on our regularly scheduled programming. So one thing that I want to make a note of for November is the 5th. That would be next Thursday. There won't be a live class, so you have a day off from me. And then on the 12th, we will be doing some rocks, and I will be live here on YouTube. And on the 19th, I'll be live in Zoom on Patreon. So if you want to get in on that action, go over to Gumption's Patreon and you can tune in there. And then on the 26th, there will be no class because that's Thanksgiving. And I imagine people will be wanting, if they can, to spend time with their families. So I'm going to give you a quick shot of what we are going to be doing in those two classes so you can kind of have an idea. I have them set up on Facebook, so you can go ahead and tune in there. If you ever want to know what the class schedule is, go to my website over at ihavegumption.com. Check out the calendar, and then as you hover over the calendar, you can click on those days. There are images there that you can click on, and they will give you details about the classes. So let's switch to our overhead camera here really quick. I'm sorry to say we aren't going to have a palette cam today. I just couldn't get it to work today. I'm not sure what is going on, but you know, that's the way it is. Let's see. So here is our overhead shot, and this is what we're doing in our Patreon class, and this will be what we'll be doing on the 12th in YouTube Live. We'll be talking about rocks and that sort of thing. So know that that's coming. And so right now I'm going to give you a real quick lesson on perspective. Now, this is really going to be, I'm going to try to be as basic as I can here. And we're going to do it on the iPad because it makes life a little bit easier. Okay, here we go. And I need to grab my, there we go, glove. Okay, are you guys still with me? Okay, hopefully you can hear me. Okay, looks like if you notice that there are any issues with the internet here, leave me a message in the comments, please. I've been having some issues today getting set up and not sure what the deal is. Okay, so this is my iPad. I'm using Procreate on the iPad here, and I'm going to switch my color to black here, and we're going to talk about 2-point perspective. Sorry, my handwriting could be better. Okay, so when we do perspective, you know, first you start with a horizon line. Okay, let's see, and we have two, sorry, here, we have 2 vanishing points. So a VP is a vanishing point, okay? So you're going to have a vanishing point over here, and you're going to have a vanishing point over here, and usually it goes off your paper, but for tonight, we're not going to worry about that. We'll start small. So when I'm looking at why this is relevant is because we're going to be painting a car. So when we're looking at this car is in perspective, and I start with a box actually to make my life a lot easier. So I start, so we have, let's see, and this guy is, I think, a little below the horizon line, maybe. Well, actually, we'll just have it intersect there. So we have one portion that is closer to us than the rest. And so it's this corner that is closer to us than the rest, and the rest are going off into perspective. So when I draw a car, I start with this longest point here, and I start making a box. And so my vanishing point for this guy in particular might be, it might actually start here, and then I have a vanishing point over here. So then I can easily use that vanishing point to start setting up my box. And sometimes after you've been doing perspective for a while, you get kind of used to this. As I see, this guy here is lower, so he's a little bit lower down here. So I'm going to put him this corner down and make this box. So this looks like a mess right now, but I'm going to fix it so it makes a little more sense. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments there. So I'm going to make this a little bit lighter so we can kind of use this as a guide, and we'll switch our color up here. So let's see, nope, another layer, okay. So I make this box, and because cars are hard and it's easier to build a box, here I'm going to make Oops. Sometimes they, that's not going to work here. So then I have this area that is also taller of the car, so I make it a box too. And it gets a little weird here because we're going off into this guy over here. But between these two points, vanishing points here, we can create, oops, I don't know why it keeps switching me to that. We can create this box that's like a car. And then, of course, your wheels are going to line up to your vanishing point over here. So your wheel, maybe it starts here. And you've got a wheel that starts here. So they will line up wherever they are. And of course, when you're working in the iPad, you can make perfect circles if you want. And this is really how I always start my cars, is just by using perspective and building them in a box. So, and they're usually always in 2-point perspective. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you. I like to do, when I'm working on perspective items, I always do this exercise where you have your horizon line and then you just put some lines down. And this is where you can, if we're using this as a vanishing point, you can have something in perspective, and then you just always, your vertical up and down lines are always straight. They're never slanted. So you can easily make a box in perspective. So you can play with that with things that are, maybe you've got the worm's eye view, or you've got the bird's eye view. You can play with it that way. So, and I recommend, you know, when I had to do this in school, we had to do it with a ruler and extra long paper. And if you want to do that, you can do that too. I like the iPad just because it's quicker and you can erase things easier. But however you want to do it, you can do it. Okay. Questions? Do you have any questions here for me? I don't know if that was a really great explanation for you guys, but I wanted to quickly cover that. I think we will have a more extensive class with more tools for you at a later time to talk about perspective a little bit. So yeah, feel free to let me put any questions in the comments. So I don't drag out this class forever, I'm going to get started tracing. Hopefully by now you have, if you're going to paint along, you have gotten the information for the images in the chat, so you can download those and print them off, or you can visit the screen under this video on YouTube where there's a description and you can access them there as well. So I'm going to get started tracing here, and you can draw along with me if you want to, or you can just hang out and watch. So, all right. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight. I feel like it's been a while since we've had one of these classes. Last week, was it last week? I got to see Laurel and everybody hanging out. And that was really great on Zoom. So this is my image that I am going to transfer to my watercolor paper here. And I do it a really low-tech way. So if you're new here, you get to see just how low-tech I am here. So I just take my pencil And I can kind of see through this paper, so I can kind of see where I need to do this at. You can always hold it up to the light and see. But the nice thing is then you can just position it wherever you want to on your paper. I use washi tape. So washi tape I have found is a great tool for watercolor because it comes up so easily for the most part. Okay. And then I just take, you know, you could take a colored pencil. That is probably even a better option. But I just take a hard lead pencil and I just sketch over the top of this. You can draw it, and you could try this box technique here. What I try to do is keep this class to an hour-ish. Sometimes we go over, but after you've had a long day, probably at work, you're probably ready to relax after class. So tell me, how are you guys doing out there? Is this your first time visiting here with a live session? Let me know. Again, if you want to download this imagery, you can do that. You can find it in the chat or in the description below this window, or this video, I should say. And there is a reference image as well as this sketch that you can snag if you want to. And of course, we need to always remember our shadows to get them in our picture, so that's what this guy is. Okay. This one is a little more intricate than our other ones, but I thought it might be a change of pace for us a little bit. It's kind of fun to paint. This is actually a taxi that was in Edinburgh when I went there a few years ago. And I just thought it was really neat because it was just this little teeny car. The nice thing about taping this here at the top is that you can kind of look at your progress and see what lines you've forgotten to draw in. Okay. This one isn't coming in too good here. Okay, and a little bit of a curve here. And then I'm going to show you what our reference photo looks like. Just in case you are just hanging out watching and you're not painting along. Okay, that's probably good. And anything I need to fix here, I can just sketch in real quick. Of course, we have a little bit of foliage here, so we don't want to forget about that. Okay, so this is the painting that I did. Of course, we'll have a little less time than I had probably to work on this, so we will do the best we can here. So this is what the original image looked like. They're pretty cute little taxis, and they are all over there in the UK. But they are fun, and so I decided I didn't want to do all the lettering on there, but I wanted to capture this exciting kind of very colorful taxi. So let's see, what are we going to start with first? Okay, I think we'll start with the orange. Now, if you want to mix your own orange, I'm going to put this color wheel here, so you might find that handy. So when we mix orange, we're going to use this yellow and a red color, and that creates our orange here. I'm going to use transparent Pyrrole orange, but you could use a cadmium orange. You could use any kind of orange that you might have. So first I'm going to mix that up. Actually, I need to get my paints wet here. And we're also going to be probably using a little bit of a hot pink maybe, or a red. So if you've got like a good nice red, you can use that. So I'm just going to mix up some of this transparent Pyrrole orange. It's very vibrant. And then I'm going to use it with a little bit of my opera pink, just to boost that a little bit. You may not even truly be able to see it on my camera here, but and maybe we'll have a little bit of a cad yellow, or if you have an Indian yellow. Because we're going to have a little bit of fun here. Okay. So I'm going to get a smaller brush, I think. So I'm going to use this, I think this is a 6. Probably be using both a 6 and an 8 here around. And I'm just going to put water in here where the car is orange. I'm even going to do the black grill here. I still have some pigment on my brush, so that's why it's showing up. But we're going to do some wet and wet magic. So I'm just going to get this guy good and wet. It's kind of handy to be able to see the orange here. This is where you need a smaller brush, is in these spots. Oops, this one's got some color in it still. And if you're tuning in again for the first time, or you're just tuning in and you haven't been here for a while, let me know that you're here in the chat there. Okay, so you can kind of lift your paper up and see where it's wet. You can kind of redistribute your water if you need to. So now I'm just going to have fun. This part of the car in our image is a little bit more yellow, and then you see darker parts here on the side. So I'm going to kind of add this yellow in here in spots where it might have a little more light. Do it here too, and over on this side. Again, we're not too worried about this, the fender portions. Looks like I didn't draw mine in entirely. That's all right. So then I'm going to go in with my orange here and just kind of let it spread a little bit. Get a little more pigment. And this is a transparent Pyrrole orange that I'm using by Core. And you know, I think, look at that spread. Isn't that crazy? It just tickles me. We have a little bit of darker area here. Now that is straight out of the palette there, that color. Let's see, I need to grab a paper towel. So if you need to do that, you can get a little extra pigment there. And if you need to lift something, you can just clean off your brush, tap it on your paper towel, and dab. Okay, now I'm going to go in with this pink color. Okay. So Colin, since I know you're on here, did you have issues last week finding our Zoom call? You'll have to let me know. Okay. And here I'm just adding a little more of this hot opera pink. Well, it's opera pink, but it's kind of a hot pink. Okay, and I may kind of lighten up this area by lifting some of this just a little bit. And I can't forget this one here. Opera pink makes some great oranges mixed with yellow. Oh, I need to do this guy too. Okay, so that is pretty vibrant, and we're gonna let that dry for a minute. Actually, I need to put some orange in here, it looks like, so, but I am gonna let this dry, and we're gonna work in a different area, and if we need to, we will whip out the hair dryer. Okay. Oh, you did get that information, Colin. Great. Okay. Well, yep, just like I said, we'll be doing that, I believe, on the 19th. So if you want to get in on that action, I will send it to you, and we will go from there. Okay, so now I'm going to work on this area here to just kind of mix this color and to also ground this vehicle on the road. So I'm going to work on the road a little bit, and this kind of, I don't know what color you would call that, salmony pink maybe. So I'm going to just mix some color here. And I'm going to use a quinacridone coral. It's kind of a rosy color. You can see it's less vibrant than the opera pink. It's just a little more subtle. And then I might mix just a little bit of green with this. So red and green on the color wheel, if I have it here. They're complementary colors. So here's red. This would be a green. It looks more turquoise truly, but the watercolors I was using kind kind of created this for the green. So across from red is green. These are complementary colors and they do a nice job of muting themselves. So if you get a little too vibrant in one end or the other, you can add the mute or the complementary color there and it will tone down that color. So this probably is fine for me to use. So I'm just gonna just paint this on, move that bead around. And there you go. That will work for our sidewalk here. Again, if you're new and you're just joining in, you can find the images for this class in our chat. And you can paint along or you can paint along later. So now I'm mixing, this is Sodalite. You could use any kind of color that would be maybe a black or a charcoal. Anything, Payne's Gray is a great color and it is basically a similar shade to this color. I'm going to just use my extra paper here to see how dark that is. So we just want a light color like that for now. See if I can do this without getting it into the paint. So what I'm attempting to do here is I'm drawing the street here. And it doesn't matter if it goes into our shadow because we're going to use a darker color there. So I'm going to go along this sidewalk here. And I have a big brush that I'm using. I'm just trying to move quickly and move that bead. And the purpose of moving the bead is so you don't leave marks in your watercolor. It moves very smoothly. Now it looks like I got a little bit of my orange paint here. So I wiped off my brush. I'm going to see if I can lift this a little bit and maybe soften that a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to whip out my hair dryer. So this gives you a moment if you need to continue sketching or you need to grab a glass of water. I will be really quick. I'm going to mute you really quickly, dry this, and then get back to painting. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to fill in some of these other spots. Let's see, while we are painting. And because we're going to need to do a little bit of green too, and our windows as well. So it doesn't look like much now. Of course, we've got some dabby areas that need to be cleaned up, but we can do that here. It was interesting. I took a class here not too long ago. Well, actually, I took two little quick classes, and both the teachers talk about that ugly period in watercolor. And it's the first time I've heard anybody really talk about that part, I guess. I mean, I've talked to my students about that part where, you know, you get to 80% and then it starts looking like something good, but it's just kind of funny. So this is my sap green. I'm also going to show you how to mix a green. In case you don't have sap green, you can use ultramarine blue. and mix in a yellow of your choice. You could use cadmium yellow or a Hansa yellow. This is a Hansa yellow. And depending on how much you have of one or the other, depends on, you know, how intense your green is. Okay. So we have a couple greens here. I wish this thing, oh, we can go a little higher. Oh man, helpful. Okay. Zoom in here. All right. This is good. Okay. So what I'm going to do here in the background is I'm laying down some water here as well. And we're going to do these trees, but we're going to work wet and wet. I have a little bit of green on my brush here. We're also going to use this color here in this window. And all along here. We're just trying to place this in an environment. Okay. Hopefully the video isn't too screwy. It looks like we might be having issues. Hopefully not. Okay, so now I'm going to drop in some of this color here and let it spread very organically. To create I can even dip into my paint here and get a little more movement. Looks like this is drying up on me. Okay, here's our mixed green. Just kind of drop it in. Could probably make it a little more intense. A little green gold. Okay, hopefully things are working. I'm just checking to see here what's going on with our internet. Okay, so also in the front windshield of this car, I'm going to add some of this Sodalite color. I might have a little much in there. If I need to lift some, I will lift some out. And in the back here, I can see, so along here, it's kind of this line that is the kind of back window there. So it looks like it's kind of getting into my orange here, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. Okay. So now I'm going to use some of this Sodalite and I'm going to lightly put it in the windows here. And it looks like I left out my rear view mirror, so I'm going to draw that in here. And use this color in the window. If you get a little too much green in your gray, you can just lift it here. And I'm going to kind of draw this with my brush. I'm going to let it sit here and leave it out so we can go back and paint over it again. We're just trying to get some of our colors in and get this guy rolling. So let's see, what did I do with that sheet? Okay, so I left this guy off too, so I'm going to just sketch him in here. It was like a Monday or something. I'm not sure what was going on over here. And I gotta paint this guy in too. I'm not sure. Hopefully our video is still up, but I will just keep painting here. Okay. And of course we need to paint in the grill. So I'm using again Sodalite here. Really honestly could draw almost anything, I feel. And it's just practicing that makes it easier and makes you better. So I am painting in my tire here. I'm going to bring that bead up here. And I'm going to do the shadow a little bit too. We'll go in and darken this. I'm just trying to fill these in so we can just have this thing grounded and know where all of our ducks are, so to speak. And I'm going to do this rear tire area. I have a little bit of marking here, it looks like. But that's okay. Okay. Did it kick me off line? Let's see, we're going to check with Kyle and see if we're still online or not. Okay, so this is looking pretty sad right now, but I'm going to get out my hair dryer and dry this a little bit, and then we'll get to doing some more details. Whoops. So I had myself muted. Looks like I am online as far as Kyle can tell, so I'm just going to keep rolling here. So we need to add some details here, and this, because this is so small, I'm going to start using a little teeny brush to start adding details here. One thing that I can do, so we can see this car seat, it's kind of the window there, is I can take my brush with clean water and scrub and create kind of that windowsill in the rear. And I can also kind of scrub out this handle that is in the window that you can see in the window. So now we kind of have a good basis for our little car here. I'm going to add a little water to my gray and work on my, I guess you call these hubcaps here. Just real light. Just so we can kind of see them. What's nice about this stage is we have lots of granulation, and I'm going to zoom in really quickly so you can kind of see this nice granulation that you get. Now, some people like granulation where the paint kind of separates. Some folks don't. Okay, and I see that our window sills are a little bit darker here. So with this narrow brush, I'm going to kind of start drawing in some of these edges. Maybe cleaning them up. I might need a little bit more pigment to my water ratio. Just clean up this edge a little bit. This, you see a little more of this edge here from this angle. And then I'm going to draw in this mirror here. And just paint it in. And I can drive my brush a little bit and lift here. And now things are starting to look like something, I think. So again, we have a thicker view here of this wall, or I mean this door. Okay, and this brush that I'm using, I really like this. They don't make this set of brushes anymore, but they still produce these brushes. This is kind of a specialty set. It is a Trykel brush, and I like it because it's not too fine, but it's fine enough to get in some of these tighter spaces. I'm gonna do a little swoop here at the top of our taxi sign. And of course we're gonna work on our windshield here. I had a little green move in here in areas it shouldn't be, but that's okay. In this area I'm just gonna kind of lightly draw that. Section and kind of swoop up here for the dash. And we have some areas that are a little bit darker, so I'm going to start in these areas too, underneath the this is the wheel well, because this creates a shadow of its own. And I'm going to do it on the back. Feel free to throw your questions in chat there if you've got some. I'm going to darken this part here. And the top of the grill. And I'm going to go in here and get the top of this bumper. And get this side, because the side is darker. And it wraps around. I may need to bring this even in a little bit more. And then we have our tires here. This area is kind of dry, so we can do another kind of glazing here with the tire. You can even darken it. We'll darken underneath this bumper. And I have a light here that I have left out. So I'm just going to lift there a bit. And I'm going to do it here in front too. Just to, I can go back in and kind of draw that in. This guy. Okay. This guy is a little bit harder. But I'm going to let that dry for now. I'm going to do a little bit of work here in the orange color. This area has a little bit of shadow. And let's look at our reference image. So we have a little shadow here. What's great is this area was a little bit lighter when we painted it the first time, so I can kind of create this ledge by putting this darker color down here, and then you see there's this kind of where light hits there. Can also go in and paint above it to help that ledge come to life a little bit. And you can soften it by moving your brush along here, or you can leave the edge hard. But we have a couple of spots here where we have a little bit darker area here. And then I'll soften this by dipping my brush in water a little bit and tapping it on my paper towel. We can also do that up here. We can kind of create this edge. So I'm just looking at my reference photo and seeing where are those darker areas. And this area kind of goes around, oops, here. We're now just trying to shape this a little bit more. I love the looseness of this color, but we're just trying to make this look a little more car-like. In this area here, there is kind of a ledge here. Can clean up some edges a bit. This might feel a little bit dark. We can soften it up here. We can also clean up this edge a bit. That's where our green got in there. And I'm just kind of looking back and forth at my image here. Okay, so one thing I think we can do is give this a little bit darker of a shadow. In our image, our shadow is pretty dark, but by doing a second wash through the underside, it will help define the bottom of our car, creating a nice line, and also help our little tires there. So let's see, I'm using my 6 brush, round brush, and hopefully you can see this. Just gonna go under here. I am going to do another swipe through here. And underneath. Shadows are really important, and you know, if you've been on here with me a few times, you've heard this before. But shadows are really important because they ground whatever you're painting. So you don't want your work to feel like it's floating. Well, shadows, paying attention to light and how shadows fall will help you keep that from happening. So this, I think, was at the college in Edinburgh in Scotland, and it's pretty cool to go. We stayed there for a night on our tour here in 2014, and it was pretty cool. My nephew is in Croatia right now, so I'm really excited to see what pictures he comes back with and experiences that he comes back with. I've seen just so many cool pictures of where he is at, and I'm so excited for him to have such a cool experience so young, so early in life. I think traveling helps us shape us, and seeing how the rest of the world lives, I think, is really important. Because I think as Americans, we are sometimes very sheltered as to how the rest of the world operates. And I think it's good to be exposed to culture and art from other places. So I'm just kind of going back and darkening some of these areas. Might do a couple swooshes here for window wipers. I'm not too picky about these wheels, I don't think. Wheels are the hard part for me when I am drawing a car. I know when they look wrong, but sometimes they can get you stuck. So now I'm just looking at the shadows here that shape these lights. So in some areas it's a little bit darker. This will also allow me to draw in the lights that I missed drawing with the initial sketch. So if you were somewhere hanging out outside and you were where you could paint some cars, you know, if you got tired of painting buildings, you could paint some cars. Okay, this is actually kind of pretty dark here. Hopefully you are still with me. This area is pretty light, this license plate. I'm not going to put in the number, but just kind of adding it in there. You can also, if you want to, add to the grill with narrow strokes. What's nice about these brushes with this nice point is you can do very narrow lines if you want to. Okay, what am I missing here? We are at the hour mark here. So we'll add a little bit more to our taxi sign. If you have questions here, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Oh, we also need to do our lights here. The thing about lights or wheels or anything like that is really it's a series of values that make up that part of the drawing. So as you can see here, here is our first finished piece. You can see where I've added a light wash of gray here, and just by using that, it shapes that shape. So I have a little too much pigment here, but I can leave that. Now I have some paint right in there, and we can see if I can scrub it out. And then dab it with a paper towel. That seems to work pretty well. We can clean up around that if we want to later. I might lift here a little bit. And maybe go in with a little yellow to shape this a bit more. I feel like this is uneven. You could work something like this forever, but we don't have probably too much time to do that. So I'm just kind of giving this a little bit more value, I think. Okay, so you could keep painting this and, you know, use a very skinny brush if you wanted to add more details. I think for the time being, we will move on to our pen stage. So I'm going to take my hair dryer, I'm going to dry this really quick, and then we'll move to the pens. Okay, I do see one area that I could fix right here, so I might do that last, but we'll get to the pens. And the thing about when you do line art, let's see. So this is a 0.05, which I like this size when I'm using pens. This one is a 0.2. You might need to zoom in here for that. And this one is a 0.4. So when you're illustrating, your thick lines are closest to you. Closest to you. I can't spell. Thick lines, and then thin lines, as things recede, they're in the background, or they're for smaller details. So just keep that in mind. We'll kind of just use a couple of pins probably here, but as you're illustrating, that's kind of the rule of thumb. So for the more minor details, I will be using this 0.05. So that is the door. The doors here. And you don't even have to do a full line for them. Maybe for details here in the wheel. Oh, you know what? We didn't paint this guy. Let's see. We have this little bar. That you can see there. And then this one is a thicker line. I can't draw a straight line to save my soul here. This one gets a little closer to us so we can do that. So we're just kind of sketching in the details. You can do this, you can be exacting about this or not. Sometimes you can fix areas that, you know, didn't quite come across right. And if you're just starting, you know, you can do a sketch too beforehand if you have waterproof pens, or you can wait till the end like we've done here. This is a great way to get started with watercolor, I think. Watercolor can be very intimidating. And art class, we do the best to be approachable and just have fun with it. Because that's the point. The great thing about watercolor is you can take it with you. So I'm going to use my thicker pen here. You can also kind of draw in things that didn't make it into your first drawing if you need to. So because this line is farther away, I can continue this line with this pen. Looks like I have a little gas cap here. You can also use hashing. Oh, I totally forgot the bumper too. I'm going to draw that bad boy in here. So I had to draw in my bumper. Now I can just, hopefully this is dry, I can just paint it in there. There we go. No problem. Let's see. And then this area, it's kind of undefined. So you can use your pen to define some things. You could do some cross hatching if you need to. I have this weird area here. Guess I should look at the picture. Cross hatch it in there. Or hatching. So this is hatching. Cross hatching would be crossing, and it creates a really nice effect when you are drawing too. You can straighten lines if you need to. Maybe I'll do a little cross hatching here. And you could work back and forth as well. If you can draw a little and paint a little. You can cross hatch in here. The goal is just to have fun with it, but you know, we're assessing value and creating some better details here. You can just refine things a little. What else? Let's see. So these might be a little dark, but that's all right. Now I'm going to paint in our curb using our Sodalite and just kind of going along this edge here. If you wanted to add extra texture to this area when you laid down paint, you could have used salt. That would be totally fine. And I think I'm just going to add this little wash over here. You can just add a little bit of color. You could also go back into your bushes and add detail there, but that's probably okay for today. So before we go, I'm going to again remind you of these classes that are coming up. Put that up here. So if you missed it when we signed in on the 5th, we won't have a class because I have a meeting actually during the same time. So you guys get a reprieve from me. And so we won't have class on the 5th, but the second Thursday we will have this rocks class. So we'll be painting rocks and talking about that a little bit. This class is on the 19th of November, and that is a Patreon paid class. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you will know that we will be doing this, and I'll be posting that Zoom information in Patreon for you. I have it all set up. I just need to put it in Patreon now. And also for my Patreon subscribers, you're going to be getting one of these color wheel stickers. So look for that soon. I'll be dropping one off for Colin, and Laurel, I'll be mailing you one. So look for that. You can get those on the I Have Gumption website if you want. And what else did I want to cover with you before I let you go? If you have questions, go ahead and leave them down below for me, and I can answer them for you. That might be it as far as notices for you guys. But if you have questions or you have some comments, go ahead and leave them down below in the comment section here in the chat. I'll happily answer those. I hope that you found this helpful and that it was fun. We will have a class that's more in depth for perspective, and I will probably be doing it on the iPad, so you can tune in then. And I'm planning about a month ahead right now for classes, so just keep your eyes peeled. I think maybe we can do that in December. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with me, regardless of whether there are problems or not here on the web. I appreciate you guys being here. And again, if you have any questions, throw them in for me. If you want to see the schedule for the class schedule because you didn't write that down or you missed it, go ahead to ihavegumption.com/calendar. That will take you to the calendar, and you can hover over the boxes on the calendar and it will tell you what's up, and you can click on them as well. And they usually have a link for the live feed. So if all else fails and you can't find it on YouTube, you can find it there. So again, thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys later, and keep painting, keep being creative, and have an awesome weekend. I will see you later.